welcome to The Other Side. I'm Dr. Will Miller. Embraced by the Light has been on the bestseller list for 1 year. Millions have been touched by an ordinary woman's moving account of an extraordinary near-death experience. Betty Eadie's book is a revealing and surprising exploration of life beyond death. Now, whether you believe her story or not, it has given many an inspirational and comforting message. Betty Eadie says that when she died, she went into the light and met Jesus. She tells an astonishing story of life beyond death. Welcome, Betty. Congratulations on the success of your book. A very moving story. You died after an operation for a hysterectomy.
Yes, I did. After I had the hysterectomy, it actually was later on that evening that I experienced my death. I died from hemorrhage around 9:30 p.m. and I was alone in the room. I was not attended by doctors or nurses. They'd actually bedded me down for the evening.
So you did not have the story we often hear where someone goes out and then are resuscitated. No one resuscitated you.
No, I was very healthy. I was 31 years old, and they expected me to recover perfectly. And
how did you know you died? Do you remember the moment you died?
I do, very clearly.
What happened?
I felt my body dying, literally, starting from my feet, my hands, creeping up through my body. And it's a feeling that's very distinctive. You know something is extremely wrong. And then there was this tremendous sinking sensation. There was a pop, and then a movement in my chest, and my spirit came up out of my body, at my chest, ran up to the ceiling, and I turned and I looked down, and I could see myself lying there on the bed.
We've heard that kind of experience many times with near-death experiences. Then what happened? Go on.
Well, I came down for a closer look, and I was very, not frightened, but I think I was disturbed for just being alone in the room. And I noticed that there appeared in my room 3 men that were in a soft glow about them. They stood about 2 feet above the floor. And they explained to me that they were my guardian angels, and that they had always been with me throughout all my time here on earth, but also they had known me when I was in heaven before I came to earth.
You've described them in your book as monks. Is that how they appeared, as
monks?
They
appeared to me like monks. They looked like that, or I'd have to say 3 old men in bathrobes.
And then what happened? You saw a light?
There was a light. And this was sometime later. I actually went home first to see my family. Visiting in my home, I saw my husband and my children. I saw my husband reading the newspaper. My children were preparing for bed. And there was a strange detachment. I felt as though their lives were perfectly fine without me, and that it would be okay for me to go on without them. And then I went back to the hospital, and I was drawn up into this black space by some tremendous amount of force. And while I was in this black space, there were others that occupied this space, going through a transformation much similar to what I was going through. It was very loving, and it was very warm and beautiful, but it was very, very black.
You weren't frightened in that
No,
stage.
I wasn't. I felt a tremendous amount of love there. But then I saw a pinpoint of light, and I was attracted to that light. And I began to move feet first, noting for the first time that my body, I had a spiritual body, and that I had some light in me. It was very dim, but it was glowing. It began to travel towards this brighter light, and that brighter light would be compared to perhaps your sun here on the brightest day, perhaps by another 100,000 times, if you could imagine it. And I just traveled very quickly towards it. As I came to the light, I could see that it was a being, a person, that was emanating this light. The light was flowing from him. And as I got closer, I knew who this man was. And I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, just like I would know a grandfather or a grandmother, I knew that he was Jesus Christ. And I began to rush to him. And I said to myself over and over as I was running, I'm home, I'm finally home, and I never, ever want to leave you again, almost chastising him for having had to have this separation from him. But he just held his arms out as I ran into them, and he held me, and he loved me unconditionally. And there was a humorous nature about this man.
So you had
I
believed in Jesus before?
Yes, I was raised in a Catholic boarding schools when I was very young, and Protestant as well. So I did believe in Jesus Christ.
When people hear about these experiences, it's hard to convey what the feeling is like. I mean, right now we can all relate to. You're sitting there, we're sitting here.
Right.
The way it feels to move around in our body.
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe what that movement was like going through this experience?
It was more natural to me than sitting here and talking to you right now. In that when you leave the physical, and you go back to the spiritual, the physical here seems dead. It seems non-existent, slow, heavy. In my book, when I came back into the body, it was heavy and clay-like, and that's how it seems here. It is very dull in comparison.
Now, how did you know that this being was Jesus?
I knew him. I remembered him. It was a recognition. He didn't appear to me with nail prints in his hands or in any of the familiar ways that we are accustomed to seeing here on earth, such as the pictures. But he appeared to me, they explained to me that he appeared in what would be all his glory.
Now, is it possible that in this state, that because it was part of your background and your belief system, that it would be expected that, say, in your personal case, you would encounter Jesus, and for another person who had a different kind of religious experience, they might encounter the way God would be manifest in their religion? What is your response to that?
Yes. In fact, I asked about that. It was part of my questioning, you might say. I needed to know. And I learned there that if you had another belief system, God would not shock you out of your belief system, but that you would ultimately, we all would come to know that God did exist and that Jesus existed as well. But, that we would all be drawn to that knowledge eventually.
One woman's vision of heaven and an important message for us all.
Well, heaven was absolutely beautiful, Will. One of the things that I thought was very curious, though, was the large looms that were very archaic, very old-looking, and they were weaving material that looked like spun glass or spun sugar. And then I was taken to the most magnificent garden. It was very beautiful with trees and flowers of all colors, and the grass was very crisp and very cool under my feet. But I noticed that it was as though every blade of grass had intelligence, and it was happy that I was walking on it. I know that sounds very crazy in a way, but it was wonderful. And a flower that I was particularly interested in was a rose, and I was able to enter into that rose by some strange and unusual way, just desiring to be a part of it. I entered in and became a part of it. And as I felt love for this rose, the rose began to expand and literally grew right there with me inside of it. And I learned from that as you love things, they absolutely will grow, not only just physically, but they grow spiritually by that love.
So you come back, and what lesson does that give you as a living person now?
That's what it's all about there. Jesus said to me that our purpose for being here on this earth is to learn to love, and that is one of the most important things. That if we love one another, everything else will be okay.